Hello, everyone. Welcome inside the Red Earth Production Studios for this edition of YBMcast Baseball Talk, powered by Game 7 Baseball, Game7Baseball.com. Fall ball over. We're looking to the next part of the season. We got some great stuff coming up. We'll be doing our winter workout tour. We've got our road show coming up. We got Dave Penning coming on the show in a couple weeks talking about what's going to be happening with Game 7 Baseball. Don't want to miss it. If you looking for some great tournament action, great tournament stuff, go to Game7Baseball.com. Get your team registered early. Always good for discounts and things of that nature, so make sure. So we're looking forward to talking with Dave next week. But today on the show, we have joining us all the way over from Liberty, Missouri, head coach of the Liberty North Eagles, back-to-back state champions, Coach Ryan Stegall. Coach, thanks for joining us.
Hey, absolutely. Appreciate you having me on again and ready to talk some baseball. Let's get it going.
Absolutely. I want to start off, I think it's interesting, when we look throughout the state, successful programs, coaches having success. You played not too long ago, we'll put it that way, right, Coach?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, played in the Big 12, played for Mizzou, was drafted into the MLB. Houston Astros, correct? If my memory serves me correct?
Yep, correct.
I think that's it's interesting when I start looking at these things and I see the success you have and whatnot. Does that help you understand better how to relate to these players?
Yeah, obviously, I was at Mizzou, 98 to 01, played there for 3 years, and then got drafted by the Astros after my junior year and went on to play 4 to 5 seasons in the minor leagues. And obviously right now, it's all different. Everything is different, but it is nice to, not necessarily have the kids know that you played and maybe played at a higher level so they can, maybe, hey, he's been there type deal. But I do feel like I've been there. But I also feel like as I see these kids coming through nowadays, man, they were so much better. Or they are so much better than I was back then. It's just crazy the training that they're going through. But yeah, that was my deal when I played, man. I worked harder than everybody. I was always going to be the last one to leave the cage. I was always going to be the first one to show up, take extra ground balls. And that's the one thing that I try to instill in them is if you are going to, if you want this to be a possible career or you want to get to college or whatever you want to do with it, you got to get out there and put the work in. And I think they do kind of realize that that's kind of how I was, successful with my playing career.
I think that's interesting when, you look back 98, 2000, that's not, it isn't that long ago. And we look at these things and training has changed that much since that time frame and how we approach, especially high school players and their training. And it's, you're from the Midwest, correct? You went to high school there here in Missouri. Yeah. Was it, how big a difference is it from what you saw when you were in high school here to what it is now, as far as training is concerned?
Oh, it's huge, big difference. Almost all of my guys, it seemed like they have different guys they go to see for hitting, for pitching. They're strength training guys. And I'll be honest, that was really hard for me when I first started coaching, was to accept, hey, they're going to go see somebody different. They're going to go work out with this guy when I'm like, hey, that's my job. That's what I'm supposed to be doing, helping you out. But that's just how it is. Like, I'm starting to see it. I got 2 girls. I have an older girl, or not older, she's a freshman in high school, and they're both in volleyball. And gosh dang, man, like I was always one of those, hey, we're going to work as hard as we can type deal. But we're hopping in that same trap. We're going to see, hey, this hitting lesson or this setting lesson, all of the extra stuff. And you feel like you have to if you're going to keep up with these athletes. I mean, they are putting in the work. Like I said, it's when I was going through, I played basketball, I played baseball, whatever season was. I absolutely loved that season. That was my favorite sport. You know, I worked hard. Like I said, I'd work hard in the weight room, but there was really no special workouts that I did. You know, it was that, and it's so focused now for these guys, and the workouts they go through is just, I mean, it's awesome. It really is, and it's way ahead of where when I played. I know that for sure.
Oh, that's gone. My son was in high school. He finished in 2016 and then went and played in college. So when he first started, my experience with that is on that first part of that, where all of this stuff, the clubs were kind of starting to get rolling and doing their thing and growing and kind of moving into that. And by the time he was done with high school, it was just boom. And the matriculation of things from people moving into those situations now, where you see 3 or 4 different elite performance centers, what we call elite performance centers, going very baseball specific or football specific, or these trainers. It is amazing how you watch these different athletes and the ability to hit the ball further. To throw harder, to increase your velocity with just that type of training. Did you see that much before when you were younger playing ball?
I did not, and like just to go on that, we have Pride Fitness here in town, and it is if I cannot tell you every name that I see pop up on there. I know the Sissel kid from Francis Howell works out through this group, you know, and the guys that he puts on his Twitter page, the things that they are doing, you know, it is just number one, it's so focused on their craft, whatever they're doing. But like Tate McGuire last year went there, or was doing these workouts, and all of a sudden I see him pop like a 38-inch vertical, like not even necessarily training for verticals. You know, it's just they are getting so much stronger there, and obviously Andrew, the guy there, knows exactly what he's doing, because I mean we got 5 or 6 players there right now, and like I said, I know Hollister, you name all these solid players up here, and it's like I said, just so focused, and I'm sure that there's definitely a lot of those other places around here too, but we had nothing like that, and I always think about that, when I go back, it's like holy cow, just to know what you didn't know, obviously, but yeah, it's crazy, it's awesome.
I want to go back to something you said there, because I think it is interesting, because we're used to certain things, and as a coach, when you see things changing around you, what you did when you were in playing ball and things like that, how difficult is it not to not be flexible and move with these times, and kind of maybe stay, if we want to use the term, old school, but look at the situations and challenge yourself to open to different things. That doesn't mean you have to change your style or what you think in certain things, but to look forward a little bit more so that you understand what the player's dealing with.
Yeah, like I said earlier, when I first started as a head coach, and even as an assistant, I was an assistant over at Liberty for 3 years when I got back. But just like my mentality then was, it's going to be my way or it's not going to work here. Obviously, I've grown a ton since I was younger, at least I hope, in those aspects. But you got to be flexible. Like I always put out our schedule super early with our workouts in the winter, knowing that these guys are going to go to their pitching coach. They're going to go to their hitting coaches. They're going to go to these strength but our deal is, hey, we only got 3 hours a week now, I think is what we get. So it is, I need you here. Here's when we're going to be here. I know you're going to get your work in, when you can, but you have to be flexible. I mean, with the amount of work these kids are willing to put in and the schedules, the way their parents schedule it out to get that work in, it's a no-brainer. Be flexible, help these kids out, and I mean, it's obviously paying off.
Yeah, I like that thought because you don't have a lot of time. We just want you here when we do have the time together, so we know what's going on. And I think it's interesting too, because that gives you an opportunity to talk to the player about where they're at in their training as well. How's your arm feeling? Basically, kind of an update kind of situation, right?
Sure, yeah, and that's the thing. I feel like where our kids are going up here, for our program, it has been fantastic. I feel like we're on the same page. I know a bunch of the guys that they're going to. Nobody's having them up on the mound in December, anything crazy like that. So yeah, it's good because they're getting in there and building up. And we don't start our bullpens for school until February. So some of the kids have gotten up a little bit and started throwing and stuff like that. But yeah, just like I said, being flexible with them, knowing what they are doing, communicating here and there, and just, I don't know. Like I said, it's been good to be more open for sure. And I think all coaches around here are starting to open up to that. And I don't think I was the only one back in the day. Like you said, the old school approach. I don't know if it was ever the old school, but I do know there's been a bunch of coaches around here and down there obviously have been around for a long time and been very successful that have transitioned to, hey, we're going to have to be flexible. It's a different time, and let's let these kids get out there and get that extra work in.
I don't know if there's rules, so I don't know if I have Misha and whatnot, but it's curious. Do you find it an opportunity to get to know some of these trainers and summer coaches and guys that the kids are working out with, and talking to them, understanding what's going on, developing those relationships, so you have a pretty good idea of the pulse of the situation?
Yeah. Where some of our kids threw last year, I went and watched them throw at one of their events in January. So I got to know the staff there really well. I mean, I'd known them in the past, but got to sit down and talk to those guys there. And like I said, some of the trainer here at Pride, I've gotten to know through our boys. And it is nice to meet those guys and know that they are, doing the same thing. I mean, heck, the trainer sent half of our boys a workout down at State last year that they would go down in the pool and do that morning, just get their legs back before the game, and reached out and made sure that was all right. Heck yeah, that's okay. We want our guys ready to go that night. But they're putting in a ton of work for these kiddos too, man. I mean, they're working for them. So
I love that. That's awesome, and that he cares enough to do that. I mean, that's huge.
yeah,
Wow.
and that's my deal too. It's he's building those relationships with those guys too. It's not all about, hey, come see us and give us your money type deal. It's he's putting in the work with those guys, and everything is specific to those position players and what they need.
We've got a new recruiting rule from the NC2A. I know August 1st is now, the junior year contact. It's taking away a lot of the early signing stuff, things of that nature. NIL money's becoming, and just a note here, it's going to be fun. We've got this scheduled. Darren Sissel, Titus Sissel is, of course, and we're going to have Titus Sissel and Leo Humbert on a player spotlight talking about the recruiting process, the NIL stuff, and things like that in a couple weeks. We're looking forward to that. Darren reached out to me because there's a lot of questions out there. I'm sure you've had questions. I don't know how familiar you are with these things, but I think you're dealing with some really high-level talent in your school, Coach, especially the last couple of years, and you still have the the young man Schneider at shortstop this year, Tennessee commit, correct?
Yes, sir. Yep.
And you know, talk to us a little bit about this from the high school coach's perspective. I know it can be difficult, the different aspects. What's your view as to the new rule first and foremost, and then how does this process, do you think, help these athletes?
Well, I wish we had some NIL money and I could get on here with you and Titus and Leo and see if we could make a deal for those guys to head up this way. Because man, what a great pair that is. Those two, those are some guys right there, man. Those guys can play for sure. Um, but yeah, I think it's good. Anything that can help the game, get some kids a little bit of extra money type thing. I don't know a ton about it. I hate to say that. I really don't. I do know the deal in Missouri. Where now if you sign in state, you can start getting NIL a little bit earlier um, in high school. I think that's right. Where that's why the Mizzou we got that big football name. I think that helped out a lot. The kid from up here, at least Summit North. And I think they're starting to get more players in state because of that. I really hope it helps not only Mizzou, but all the schools in Missouri, because gosh dang, we got so much talent here in Kansas City, here in St. Louis. And I just feel like we don't get enough of those kids to Mizzou or Mo State. I would love to see them stay. And it's super hard when you're getting some of the offers these kids are getting, to Arkansas, LSU, Tennessee, you name it. But so hopefully that can help them out to have that little incentive. Hey, if you stay in state, we can maybe give you a little bit more, get it started before you get down to school type thing. So, like I said, I'm not super knowledgeable on that, but I do think, if it can help us out here in Missouri, and I know Carrick pretty well at Mizzou, and I know he's going to do a great job. So hopefully he can get some of this talent here in our area to stay home.
You're not the only one that has said that to me, Coach. That's the general, and that's why I was so glad when Coach Sizzle reached out to us and said, "Hey, would you like?" I'm like, "Heck yeah," because I think that's something that is needs to be a discussion because there are so many. I think we have it's getting more and more. So many SEC Power 5 type players in the state. I mean, you look at the PBR or PG rankings, whichever, but PBR especially, we look at that and right down the list through 25 and even into 30, you're seeing Power 5 conference signees in these rankings. And Trey Snyder there going to Tennessee, I'm sure he's dealing with that and going through that process. And I don't think there's a lot of kids that really understand the level of the scrutiny, the information, the conversations, what it really takes and what people are asking of you as an athlete when you start looking at especially these high level and when you start putting money involved, that changes a lot of things, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. And I do love that they've moved the contact date and all that stuff back, because I do feel like some kids, get rushed in that in the recruiting process, or they have in the past, and they, you can commit all you want, but until you sign, obviously nothing's official. So it really stinks to see kids not get to, I don't know. It's just tough. You sign somebody in freshman year to try to get them over somebody else, and maybe they don't develop quite like you'd liked. That's very disappointing for that kid and the family, obviously. So I'm glad they are waiting on that. Then, like you said, man, the money, obviously, the money will talk, right? I mean, it's going to talk in a lot of situations. So, and that's what I'm saying. Like, so if that is the deal with Missouri, hoping to get some of these more kids, and with that being passed, that they can pull a few more here and there, that would be fantastic. All for it.
Yeah, I agree. I think they're getting more talent to stay home. And I mean, Sissel and Humbert both are going to Mizzou. So I think that's fantastic. And I love the fact, as we were talking earlier about Brett Norfleet, watching him play football now on Saturdays at Mizzou. I love that. I get to see. I watched him, just down the road playing high school baseball, football, and you see him on the Saturday there, and then you'll see him on the ball diamond at Mizzou. I think that's a cool thing. I love that in-state thought process. I saw this kid when he was 14 playing at Hammons Field. We were doing we did a deal with Game 7 baseball, and they did an all-star deal, and they was down there playing. I mean, so I've seen this kid playing ball since he was 14. It's cool watching that. And I think that's the level of connection. I think that if you can keep these kids at home, you'll draw more fans. You'll draw a lot more support to the programs.
Absolutely. I mean, who doesn't want to watch kids that have gone through the school and all that good stuff? And so when I went, like I said, everything's changed a little bit, right, here in the last 25 years or so. But I was a kid that had to stay close to home. Like I went on some trips to some other spots farther away, but for me, like I had to be close to my family. And that was just my personality. I didn't want to be far away. I feel like now with all the baseball these kids are playing at such a younger age, all these scout teams, these travel teams, they're built for it. Like they are ready to be out on their own. They are perfectly fine with that, and the parents are too. So it's tougher. They're going to heck. I mean, I have kids that go play in Atlanta for a month at a time over the summer. And it's just like, holy cow, there's no summer. You're not here at home. You're not doing any of that. But like I said, it's a different baseball world for sure. But that was my big deal. I wanted to be close to home. And there are still some kids, they'll go away and they'll come back. But being closer to home to me was always the answer, just for family. And I know parents out there that would really love if their kids would stay home. And I think that's fantastic that Leo and Titus are staying home, because those are two kids that are going to hop in there and get going in a hurry too, for sure.
You know what? I have to correct myself real quick. He had decommitted, so I was wrong. I'm sorry.
Which
I know
one?
on Leo Humbert. He hasn't,
Oh, okay.
because he decommitted when all that. I don't think he's made. I don't know if he's made a decision yet, but he's going to pretty soon. Titus, I know, is going to Mizzou, so we'll have to wait
Okay.
on Leo. So I had to backtrack it. When you said that, it popped in my
Yeah.
head. It's like, oh, don't say that. So
Well, and that's what when you said that, I was like, sweet man, because I didn't know about him, but I knew because Titus didn't he reopen it at one time and then
he did. He
signed
did.
it? Yeah.
Yeah, but he
Good deal.
stayed, and I'm glad he stayed. It'll be interesting to see how this new coach. I've heard a lot of good things, as you said. There's a lot of people that really have a lot of confidence in him, and I think he'll do well for this program.
Yeah, he will. Carrick's a great guy. And what's exciting for me is I played for Coach Jameson
Mm-hmm.
down there, and he's come back to be Carrick's pitching coach, which I thought at the beginning was I thought it might be strange for him, but we were able to go down. He got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Would have been a few weeks ago. So we played in their little baseball scramble golf tournament. Got to hang out with a bunch of the guys. Got to hang out with Coach Jay, and he's as comfortable as ever. And they're ready, man. Like they are super excited and ready to get rolling. So
That's awesome. That's cool to hear.
yeah,
I love that.
yeah.
Last thing here with recruiting, you're dealing with a lot of students at different levels. What do you say to your kids for the most part who are looking to go to that next level, whatever it may be, Coach?
Mainly find a place you're going to be happy at. Find somewhere. Some kids fit in great with junior colleges. Some kids are not built for that. Um, they just need to have a great experience. Number one. Second thing is where you're going to play. Obviously where you're going to get in there and play, if that's important to you to play as a freshman, or what's your kind of philosophy as you pick out a school. But just being comfortable, And I always tell them, go on these visits, and you're going to know. Like, and it's awesome to see these kids. They're like, man, I just don't know. It's between here. And as soon as they get there, it is clear as day. And that's what's awesome to see. They find that comfort zone. They meet a couple coaches or some players down there that maybe they've known in the past, maybe they don't, but feel really comfortable with. Then, like I said, just somewhere where you feel like you can go in there and compete and win a job. And obviously, you're not going to know that until the fall when you get down there. But most of those kids that are picking out some of those higher level schools, obviously that's in their mindset. They want to go compete for everything. So they're definitely willing to do that.
You've got back-to-back championships. That's got to be a tough deal coming into this season. You've lost some of the not lost. They moved on because it's high school baseball.
Yeah. Don't have that NIL, man. I can't keep them.
So, you do have some players. What are we looking at here for you guys this year, Coach? Where do you feel you're sitting?
It's going to be a different squad. There's no doubt about that. We bring back 4 kids that started last year for us. Bring back Trey, our shortstop, who to me, he's the best player in the state. I truly believe that. Everything he does is just super easy on the baseball field. He's overly talented. I think if he wanted to go play football at a Division I, a high-level Division I, he could definitely do that too because he's one of their big pieces right now out on the football field. He stopped playing basketball last year, but could have played college and basketball. It's just everything comes easy to him, and he's just a great player. Bring back Bo Jonas, our catcher, who I'll put him up against anybody in the state behind the plate as well. Kid can flat play. He decommitted from Oklahoma here, a few months ago, maybe a couple months ago. I'm not sure when. So he's out on the market, and somebody's going to get a really, really good catcher for sure. I know he was down in Jupiter playing here this past week and did very well. And with those 2 guys, man, the experience is crazy because they'll be 4-year starters. And that just doesn't happen in our program a ton anymore, where freshmen come through and play. So those 2 will be leaned on a lot. Cole Young is another kid, third baseman, outfield. He does a little bit of everything. He started in the outfield for us last year. We had an injury, moved him to third. Played some of the best third base I've seen, so it'll be hard to get him off of there. But he's a kid that can go do everything, super athlete, really quick. He'll hit in the top of the lineup. He is going to UCM, so another really solid player. And then our other returner will be Joe Hall, who played some right field for us and probably had the biggest hit of the year for us last year. 0-0 game against Staley in the bottom of the 7th, and he left the yard for the walk-off to win the district. So those 4 will be leaned on. There's some other guys, man. Like I always say, everybody's like, "Oh, you guys are going to rebuild." No, I mean, we may not go 34-7. We may not win 33 games, but we'll figure it out. These guys are going to be good, by the end of the year. There's no doubt about it. We did lose all of our most of our pitching. We bring 2 guys back. We threw 11 guys on the mound last year. I looked this up the other day. Somebody asked me a question. We threw 11 guys out there, and 9 of them were seniors. So we bring back Gabe Perry, who will be leaned on a lot. He threw about 20 innings last year. He was our number 5 starter. And then Matt Lewis threw out of the bullpen a lot. And those guys didn't get a ton of innings just because, what was ahead of them. They very well could have gotten a lot more innings last year. Tate Lang is another kid that we are going to really lean on last year. Awesome story about him is beginning of the year, he was going to be a PO. Bo went down behind the plate, and we really didn't have a backup catcher at that point. So he hopped in and caught about 6-7 games straight, and then just kind of ended up being a catcher for us all year, kind of a backup catcher type guy. And we didn't get him on the mound, and it sucked because he's going to be a really good pitcher, and he kind of – I'm not going to say wasted a year because he helped us in so many ways, but didn't get on the mound where he should have been. for us. And I think he will have a really big year for sure. And then there's other guys, like I said, that threw well on JV, could have very well been throwing some varsity innings last year, but we just had a lot of guys ahead of him. So may not be pretty at the beginning while we're figuring it out. And by pretty, I'm not saying we're going to go out and beat every game by any means, but we'll be mixing it up a little bit to figure it out. But I think we'll figure it out quick enough, and we'll be very competitive.
I think when you start talking about programs, I always like to try and follow as much about the junior varsity squads as possible because that's how we talk about this a lot with Kevin Mulder. He looks at programs. There's some high school teams that get some talent on the varsity level and have a couple-year run, and you'll see them pop in, and then where'd they go? Because and that's because the development throughout the whole program, whether it be just the lack of being able to get talent consistently or just how you run your program. And I think that's very interesting. And I think high school, whether you have a deep pool or a shallow pool of talent, it's still a matter of how you develop those kids from incoming freshmen to the JV squad to the varsity squad. And as you said, we've seen a few of these. We saw Titus Sissel, Leo Humbert, or a couple up here as freshmen that started. And you said, was it Trey Schneider? Joe.
Yeah, Trey and Bo
started as freshmen. That is unique, tremendously unique. And that shows you, again, what level of talent these young men are. And I think it's very interesting when you look at that. How well did that JV squad do? What are the coaches doing? And if that program is developing talent throughout that and understanding what the program is about, then you're going to have continued success. Whether it's way up here or the drop off won't be that much, right?
Right. And man, I feel, and I'm sure everybody feels the same, but I feel so blessed to have the coaching staff I do. I've had the same assistant coach, Joe Bowman, the entire time I've been doing this. Obviously, Coach James was with us for a long time. We do have a new JV coach we added 2 years ago, Luke Cassis, who actually played at Mizzou with me, and now claims once he came on staff, we've done nothing but win. So he kind of takes a little credit for that, but he is awesome. And honestly, he coached a little bit in college. He coached a little bit at Mizzou, and then hit a few other places up. He's probably overqualified to be a JV coach, which is awesome for me. And then my freshman coaches have been fantastic. Chris Rouse, Jake Hansen in the past. He had to leave us. He moved to Oklahoma this year, and we can always rely on at the end of the year. We had some injuries, and these guys are ready to play, right? Like Harrison Barham was a kid that we brought up playoff run, maybe a week or so before that. And anytime Wisdom went to the mound, he played second. He made some big plays at second. I mean, he did, and he was just playing JV games the entire year, but was ready for that stage. And that's the thing. These kids are ready. Sometimes they're just kind of behind some people. Nolan Wally we brought up at the end of last year, ended up just kind of running the bases for us, but another dude that could have been in and just getting that experience last year, they're going to be so much better off for us this year for sure.
I always think it's the toughest job as a freshman coach because you see 15 to 20 guys, new guys every year. How are you bringing them into the program, getting them to buy into the program? And as a freshman coach, you've really got to understand the culture of the program to get these kids moving in the right direction, right?
Absolutely. And what a lot of people don't know, and every program is obviously different, but with ours, we have two paid coaches for our freshman coaches, and we have two teams. We have two C teams, so they're on their own. They're on their own island. Sure, they practice together before the season. We have our Gold and Navy is what we call our C teams. They practice together. But once the season gets going, everybody's on a different schedule. and you're just kind of on your own island out there, and it's tough. Like you don't have anybody to bounce ideas off. So it's very, very important to have great coaches in those positions. Number one, those kids need to know the system, like you said. They, need to get all the fundamentals, get everything, but they need to have a good time. They need to have fun. It needs to be a great experience for them as freshmen. We want those kids coming back out, and I feel like since we've been doing this, those kids are always coming out. That's the thing. We'll end up keeping 25 freshmen or so on the two different teams, 25, 30, and I feel like 95% or above are always coming back out, and that's huge for me. Is that they're having a great time down there, and also obviously learning the game.
I love that. If you got 30 guys, 15, you can't keep that many on a freshman squad because you never just won because you won't get no playing time. How do you do it? And
right.
I love that thought process because that's development, correct?
Right. I mean, and people, that's the thing when we started the two teams, probably would have been 7, 8 years ago. My deal, these kids develop at different times. We got to be able to keep more than 12 kids, 13 kids, because we always keep a couple extra sophomores as well that we're just saying, hey, man, they deserve another chance. We see something in these guys as well. So we'll keep them on our gold team. And then Navy team is all freshmen. But to keep, 25 freshmen is huge for us because there's always a few off that Navy team that seem like that make it all the way through. Just because they develop later. I mean, these kids get stronger, like we talked about earlier, with all these coaches and different levels of fitness they're at, and it just happens at different times. So it's definitely good to have those teams.
I think that's cool. I hadn't heard that maybe in just some of the schools, but I think that's a great approach for the simple fact, like I said, playing time. If you can't play, it's hard to develop, especially in games. I can practice. I can work on my mechanics. I can work on my skills and my drills and things. But then if I never know how that translates to the field in game, then I'm still, how do I do that? And that's where I think things can become frustrating for a player. Give me a shot at least. If you miss, hey, I gave you a shot. You couldn't hit the ball. You struck out 4 or 5 times, and you had 3 errors. There it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. And like you said, with the two teams, we can do that. And that's so important for us. It's not we're putting our best 9 on the field every game at the freshman level. We're gonna throw out different lineups. We always do have a core usually that we may see that may be above some other kids at that point. So 4 or 5 kids, 6 kids that are going to play every day, but we rotate. We usually keep, like I said, 13 to 15 on a team. That way they are on the field, and as freshmen too, a lot of those guys are still pitching. You don't have near as many POs, so they're playing different positions. So those kids are out there. We're moving them around and just seeing what's going to fit best for us down the road.
I love that. The conference, you guys, it's Kansas City Suburban, right?
Yep.
As far as the over,
and we're the gold.
Yeah. And you're in gold division.
Yeah.
So you are with who, Coach?
Blue Springs South, Lee Summit West, and Ray Peck.
Goodness, that's no gravy train right there.
No, it's we like to. I mean. There's some teams in there. It's a battle every time we play those guys. And like we were talking earlier, now that we've gone to the 3-game series, we get to see a lot of each other for sure. Get to know the teams a lot better. And man, like you said, there is some serious talent in that conference, and there's some serious talent in the other conferences as well. And when you were telling me about your all's conference down there with Hal and West and all them, it seems very similar to what we have up here. So
it's since I started doing this and started going down to the state championships, and it was the year before the COVID year. Was that 2019? Yeah, because it was 2020 they canceled, right? There's been 1 or 2 GAC teams in the Final Four, at least one per Class 5 and Class 6 since we've been doing that.
Wow. Wow.
So that to me, I mean, when you're talking at that level, my goodness, for Zumwalt South, Zumwalt East has been there, Howell and West over those last 4 years. It's quite, and then the 1 year Howell and West were there. So, and then the other year, I think Zumwalt South and Zumwalt East were there as well. So when you, and that's what I'm talking about. I don't think people understand. That's why that suburban conference is so interesting to me, and I don't know enough about it, and that's why I want to get to know more, because I think it's similar. Those, you guys to me are mirrors. I know that we have the MCC over here with CBC, Chaminade. Vianney's going to be really good again this year. I think Coach Canavan over at DeSmet, he's got some kids. I think they're going to make another good run. But there's five teams in that small conference, the Metro Catholic Conference. But the GAC and the Kansas City Suburban Conference are mirror images to me as far as how these teams, how you guys stack up and kind of bludgeon each other.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak for our conference for sure. Talking a little bit earlier with you, we didn't win the conference last year. Blue Springs South won the conference. The year before last year, we played Blue Springs South in the championship game down in the Final Four. But it's, like I said, there is just so much, and I know it's down there too. So many good baseball players. I feel like in our conference, I feel like there's a lot of good coaches. These coaches care about their programs. They put a ton of work into it. And you can tell because there's never a year, for the most part, where they're always going to be solid. Like I guarantee you a Ben Bear team from Blue Springs South is going to play the game the right way. They are going to do a ton of things right, and they are going to be there at the end of the year. I know they lost quite a bit, maybe this year too. But by the end of the year, that team's going to be good. Blue Springs, Tim does a great job. They bring back a ton this year. I think every pitcher they had, which he had a staff that was really, really good. I think they got beat by Nixa in the quarterfinal game last year, so they were a step away from making it down last year. And they have one of the best starters out there in Cole Gibbler. Lee Summit West, they bring a ton back. They got the Dickerson kid at shortstop who is absolute stud. There's a kid at third base that I think starting to finally pop a little bit. Maybe I'm just behind on it, but the Aiken kid, I saw him last year in the spring and remember talking to Jay about him and just thought he was going to be an absolute force. Now I'm seeing his name all over Twitter. So their left side of the infield is going to be dynamite. They got some arms to go with that, obviously, too. And Jay that can coach, man, just been around. These guys have been around the game a long time. And like I said, they do it the right way. That's what's fun about playing these guys. When we play our 3-game series, they play the game the right way. We know it's going to be a battle. And whether you win 2 out of 3, win 1 out of 3, you're better for playing those games and hopefully get to see them down the road. And Ray Peck, the other team I haven't talked a ton about, is they got 3 or 4 Division I left-handers.
Yeah.
So that's the one team that didn't have a great year last year, but new coach and they'll be right back in the mix again this year.
I find it fun to talk about this part of it because on the other side of that because you guys are in the goal, but Staley is there. You have Liberty on the other side. So, I mean, I know it's a conference, but there's different. Do you guys ever think about putting everybody just in the one conference and maybe 2 divisions in a situation like that?
It's never really – I guess we've never really thought about it. But like you said, I mean, that just kind of go by the class size, obviously, and us 5 ended up this round being up in the gold. But, yeah, Staley and Liberty, every single year you talk about 2 programs that are always there. I know this is the last year for Dave at Staley,
Yeah.
with his boy graduating. Um, and they're going to be really good. Holy cow, they were good last year, and they were just by the end of the year, I felt like they were playing their best baseball and just getting started almost. They were figuring it out for sure, and they bring a ton back, so they're going to be good. Coach Bragg, with his style of coaching, is a little bit different. He likes a small ball approach a little bit. Always has his guys prepared. I think they started last year 1-5, 2-6, 2-7, something crazy for a Liberty team. And I think he ended up close to 30 wins, 25, 30 wins, somewhere around there. Those guys have been around and done it, do such a great job. And obviously there's really good players there too, but you can always count on them being there. Rockers, another team that I think brings back a lot, will be good. A
Yeah,
team.
Evan DeMario over there, he's for real.
Mizzou guy. Yeah. They're always solid. And then, man, a team to watch for in Class 5 is Kearney, for sure, up here. They are a loaded team. They will swing the bats with anybody. I think they have a chance to be really special, for sure. Shane's got a good ball club.
How many Class 5? So the gold is all Class 6, correct?
Yeah, and then I think so the conferences don't really line up like what would it be, red? I'm not even sure on like that. And I believe is what Liberty and all those guys are at Liberty, Staley, Park Hills, Park Hill South, those guys. Um, I'm not sure if the class size mixes in some of those conferences. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like the next one down is all Class 5, but I'm not 100% sure on that.
Yeah, because I'm pretty sure I have to go look. I'm gonna start putting a lot of these things together. We're gonna talk a little bit more about this. Fortunately, as you mentioned, Coach Wilson, we're gonna have him on the show in a couple weeks talking about Staley.
Nice.
So looking forward to that. And that's the thing. I love that you guys. Coach, I'm so appreciative of you taking the time to chat with us because I love this part of it. I'm already looking forward to the season, man. I mean,
Oh, absolutely. Heck yeah. This time, like I said, we're getting our field up and running, hopefully with some turf, and starting to plan out the off-season work in January and February when we can get going with a lot of the baseball stuff and just getting the schedules together. It gets exciting for sure. And I need to know when Coach Wilson's on, because the first time I was on here, he tuned in and had a few comments for me after that. So I definitely want to critique his interview on here as well. So
I'll shoot you an email, let you know.
yeah, thank you.
Oh man.
No, Dave would be great, man. Dave has always been awesome to me. I remember our first years coming in 2010, didn't have seniors, and we would play loaded Staley teams, and they would do what good teams do. They'd get up 8-10-0 in first 2 innings, always shut it down. Never embarrassed us. I've always respected him so much for just the way he went about stuff and the way he goes about the game, and he's always been a great friend that I can call, about different situations. Just feel like he's been in all those different situations that possibly I might be going through, but really respect him a ton. Great dude.
Very good. We're looking forward to that. Folks, just an FYI, we're working with Coach here. Hopefully we're going to be able to get over and get a live stream of the Suburban Gold, get Liberty North back-to-back state championships. Coach, I don't care if you do anything else in your career. That's impressive.
Well, I appreciate it. We've talked a lot about it. It's been an awesome run, and I know the last time I was on here, I told you all, I saw that group coming through camps, just how special they were. It's just a special group of kids, not only baseball players, but they cared for one another. It was a family approach. It was a team-first approach. And it was 1 through 19. It wasn't I'm so-and-so, this is how it's going to be. It was everybody pulled for everybody, and that's tough. It's really, really tough to do, because it's tough not to be on that field. It's tough not to be one of those guys, but when you get that feel in the dugout and on the field, it's a very, very special recipe.
Very good. We'll get you come back to see us after the first of the year, chat up some more. Folks, Coach Ryan Stegall, Liberty North High School. Make sure you get out, support. If you're watching here from that side, get out, support your squad. I'm sure you do. You got some great fans over there, I would imagine. New ball field coming with the turf. Looking forward to that. Exciting. Appreciate your time, Coach. Really do.
Absolutely. Hey, thanks for having us on again, and we look forward to hoping to see you all come up here in the spring.
Absolutely. Hey, folks, if you enjoyed the show here today, while you're here, please hit the subscribe button. It's right there. And then hit that dinger right next to it because, hey, who doesn't like dingers, right, Coach?
That's right. Heck yeah. I can't get enough of those.
That gets you, and it gets you something. It gets you notifications for quality podcasts just like this with Coach Stegall. Hit that like, leave a comment. Share your thoughts on today's show. We do appreciate that. Everybody, thanks for tuning in. Have a great day in the Lord. Always remember, you pitchers, keep throwing strikes. Hitters, Coach, you got some advice for hitters?
Keep hitting the dingers, right?
There you go. That's good advice. We'll see y'all next time.